Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and in this video we're going to try out 6 different chaffle bread recipes. But before we do that, if you enjoy low-carb cooking videos, product and ingredient reviews, as well as lessons learned from my experiences with the ketogenic lifestyle and intermittent fasting, click that subscribe button down there. And while you're at it, click the bell next to it so you're notified whenever I release a new video. Over the last 6 weeks to month, in that range, my comment section in my various chaffle videos have just been filled with suggestions and requests. I also get a lot of people sending me recipes saying, hey, you gotta try this. This tastes just like bread. So for this video, we're gonna take 6 of those submissions from my viewers that they claim are the most bread-like chaffle that they've had, and we'll see what we think. For each one of these recipes, I will be giving credit to the person who submitted them to me in the comment section, or people if there was more than one. The first recipe that we are going to do is going to be the Wonder Bread recipe. And this was submitted to me by Blah Garcia. He also credited Sylvia Andion, and I hope I'm getting all the pronunciations correct on this. Let's whip it up. We start with 1 egg, beaten. To this, we'll add a tablespoon of almond flour, 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking powder, a tablespoon of mayonnaise, and a teaspoon of water. Actually, I'm going to stick with my plunger whisk for this. And for each of these recipes, I'll be doing 2 chaffles just to see how much batter we have. It's been about 3 minutes, and they have stopped steaming, so let's take them out. Put them on a wire rack to cool. We've let these cool for a couple of minutes. They're still slightly warm, pliable, nice color. It's a very light texture to it. So I can see how some people might give it the name Wonder Bread. It does definitely have an eggy taste to it. So if you're opposed to the egginess of a chaffle, this probably isn't going to be for you. But for those folks asking if you can do a cheeseless chaffle, which I guess would just be an awful, this is not awful. This is tasty, and I think if you're looking for a cheeseless chaffle, this could be the ticket. So to Blah Garcia and Sylvia Andion, thank you for the suggestion. This was good. The next chaffle bread submission came from Aaron Bailey. We start with 1 egg, beaten. To this we'll add a little less than 1/2 cup of mozzarella, 1/4 cup of almond flour, 1/8 of a teaspoon of arrowroot flour, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of xanthan gum. Mix this together. Now I probably should have mixed the dry ingredients together first and then the wet, but we'll just make sure we give this a really thorough mixing. This batter is quite a bit thicker. We're at the 4-minute mark and both of these have stopped steaming, so let's pop them out to the cooling rack. Nice color. Let's give it a taste. This is another good one. I like the denser texture. I think this would stand up better to a heartier sandwich than the Wonder Bread chaffle. I kind of feel like this one with a little bit of yeast, like if you let some yeast proof for a while and get bubbly and fragrant, and then added it to this could be a really excellent bread substitute. So thank you, Aaron, for your submission. The next bread chaffle submission came to me from viewer Sissy Can Do It. And I think that the recipe she sent me was for a double batch, so I'm going to cut that in half and just make a single batch. We start with 1 egg. To this we'll add a tablespoon of mayonnaise, and a tablespoon of heavy whipping cream. We'll beat this together. Then we'll add a tablespoon of oat fiber, a half tablespoon of everything but the bagel seasoning, and a quarter cup of mozzarella. And into our chaffle makers. It has been 5 minutes and our chaffles have quit steaming. So it occurred to me as I was watching the batter overflow out of one of my Dash Mini waffle makers that Sissy probably gave me this recipe as I was reviewing the Dash No Mess 4-waffle waffle maker, in which case I think her original recipe, double what I just made, would have been absolutely perfect. But let's see how it tastes. It has a very interesting texture. The outside is firm, the inside is soft. For me, and this is purely a matter of taste, I think that the amount of everything but the bagel seasoning is a little bit strong, or maybe the brand that I have is stronger. So I might dial that back a bit. So I think this is a recipe that would really, really lend itself well to like the Dash No Mess or any waffle maker that's got the deeper cavities, because I think then the interior will firm up a little bit more, which is kind of the way that I like it. I'm definitely gonna have to try this out on the No Mess. I think I may have shortchanged this recipe a little bit by doing it in the mini griddles. Our next bread recipe comes to us from Amy Henderson. We start with 1 egg beaten. To this we'll add 1 ounce or 2 tablespoons of softened cream cheese. Next we'll add 1 tablespoon of almond flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a pinch of garlic powder. Mix together and into our chaffle makers. It's been 4 minutes and they have quit steaming, so let's pop them out to a cooling rack. Similar to that first one, that Wonder Bread one, it's a little bit more pliable. This is very cakey in texture. In fact, I think if you didn't put that pinch of garlic in, something like this, you throw it in the toaster and throw a little no added sugar strawberry jam or something like that on it, or some cream cheese, or both, this would be really good. In terms of sandwiches, I like a little bit heartier chaffle, but I could definitely see this served on the side of some bacon and eggs or something like that with breakfast. This next recipe was submitted to me by Diana Butler, and she said it came from Sui Generis, who I couldn't find a YouTube channel for, so let's make it up. This recipe starts with 2 egg whites, 2 teaspoons of water, 2 tablespoons of softened cream cheese, and I'm going to whip that together before adding the dry ingredients. Then we add 4 tablespoons of almond flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a pinch of garlic salt. Again, I think without the mozzarella, I can use my plunger whisk, do a better job. Into our chaffle makers. It has been 4 minutes and they have quit steaming, so let's pop them out. Nice color. And now for the taste. All right, I'm not even going to finish chewing. This is really quite excellent. I mean, it's got a very white bread sort of taste to it. The texture is pretty much spot on. If you're looking for something that has the taste and texture of white bread and doesn't have any of the eggy taste, this is the one right here for you. So Diana, thank you for recommending this. Wow, this is good. The last recipe that I have here comes from one of my Facebook followers, Dave Watson. Maybe he's a YouTube follower as well. And Dave said that this is his go-to recipe for hamburger buns. So I figured I'd kind of throw it in as just a bonus to the bread video. Dave did not specify the quantities, though, on the amount of onion powder or sesame seeds that he used. So, Dave, if I screw up your recipe, I apologize. I'm just going to kind of wing it with what I feel are the right amounts. We start with 1 egg, beaten. To this, we add a half cup of mozzarella, a tablespoon of almond flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of sesame seeds, and a healthy 2-finger pinch of onion powder. Mix it up, and into our chaffle makers. It has been 5 minutes and they have quit steaming. All right, Dave, let's try out your burger bun chaffle. I like this. I really enjoy the flavor. I think if perhaps an additional add-in, whether that's xanthan gum or perhaps psyllium husk or something, to maybe give it a little bit more chew. I mean, I eat some pretty fat burgers, so I'd want something that could stand up to that, but this is solid. So while all of these were cooking, I kind of kept eating the ones that I had already made, and none of them are bad. But if I were to give sort of my summary opinion, and this is just an exhibition, not a competition, no wagering please, I would say that first off, the one that was submitted to me by Blog Garcia, and I know it wasn't his recipe originally, that one was probably my least favorite. It had sort of that most eggy taste to it. So if you don't like the eggy taste of a chaffle, that one's probably not going to be for you. I really like the texture of the recipe that Aaron Bailey submitted to me. I like that chewier, heartier sort of chaffle when I'm making a sandwich. And the flavor kind of grew on me over time. That's the one I kind of kept going back to and munching on as I was making videos. The recipe submitted by Amy Henderson had a very nice cake type texture to it. And I would, if I were keeping the recipe as is, I would serve it alongside, like bacon and eggs with just a little butter on it, or remove the garlic from it and put a low sugar jam of some sort on it. As I think about it, I'm pretty sure that the recipe that Sissy Can Do It submitted to me, she submitted for use on the 4-waffle-no mess or any other 4-waffle waffle maker. I think the interior would cook a little bit more to the texture that I like. I would also think about maybe dialing back on the everything bagel seasoning. That kind of was a bit overpowering to me. That said, I did put some cream cheese on it, and that balanced out the everything bagel seasoning, and it was pretty good. So if you're going to make this recipe, throw some cream cheese on it. It's yummy. Dave Watson's burger bun suggestion, I really like the addition of the sesame seeds and that little pinch of onion powder. Not too overpowering. It really tasted pretty darn good. Now in the weeks ahead, I'm going to do some more experimentation with some of the various add-ins that I haven't used so far, and perhaps combinations of them, to see if I can get that chewier texture out of bread chaffles and pizza crust chaffles. So that might be a good addition to Dave's recipe once I figure out what the right ingredient is. And lastly, that recipe submitted by Diana Butler that she said came from Sui Generis. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, but I definitely need to investigate this and make sure the right person gets credit for this, because it is a great white bread chaffle. If white bread is something you feel that you've been missing on the keto diet, this is the recipe for you. So if I used any of your recipes and I screwed something up, or you do it in a different way, say you do it in a NutriBullet or food processor, or you have some different methodology that makes it better and I didn't do it that way, let me know down in the comments. And let me know if you're comfortable with me giving you credit for this recipe out on my website. Thanks for watching.